Hi friends and welcome back to my channel and welcome to my April TBR. I am filming this a tad bit earlier than I usually would because I will be away for the end of March, which means I need to basically pick my April TBR now. That also means that my April TBR feels a bit more uncertain for various reasons. But we're gonna work with it and we're gonna do our best. It's interesting because when I started to plan April's TBR, I realized that I don't really have that many books I should read or must read. But the more I started to make plans for what I need to read in April, the greater the pile grew. The books I must read, or the one book I had in mind, is for the Buzzwordathon challenge. We know it, I'm doing it. There's two challenges. There's a Buzzwordathon title challenge and then there's a Buzzwordathon cover challenge. And in April, the theme for both of the challenges is animal. So that means the title must have an animal in its title, and for the cover challenge we must have an animal on the cover. And I realized that this is actually a challenge where I could put everything together and use one book for both challenges. And I have pulled out options because as always, I haven't decided what I want to read, and I won't decide it now because, as mentioned, it's basically halfway through March, so I might change my mind on multiple occasions before I actually decide. So I might make a video later on where I try to randomize it or something. I have three options. It's gonna be either one of these. So first we got Sharks in the Time of Saviors by Kawai Strong Washburn. We have... There's no shark on the cover! I was convinced that there were sharks on this cover, but there's not. Okay, this isn't an option. Forget you then. I have two options for this challenge. First we have The Merciful Crow by Margaret Owen. I forgot I owned this one. I have had this for a few years now, and it's just been sitting there nicely on my shelf. And as I was pulling out the books for this video, I was actually looking for another book and I saw this one. This is some sort of first book in a fantasy series. It's a future chieftain, a fugitive prince, a too cunning bodyguard, and one too grumpy grey tabby. I really don't know what it's about, but it's got crows. We have crow in the title and there's like crows on the cover. So I feel like this one counts. Why not start a new fantasy? It's wonderfully floppy. I'm getting distracted. My second option is, funnily enough, the same animal. The Angel of Crows. Again, we have crow in the title, and if we look closer, crows on the cover. This one is by Catherine Addison, and this I believe is a standalone fantasy. It's a story inspired by Sherlock Holmes, I think. So it's like mystery, fantasy, historical, everything all at once. It takes place in London in 1888. Angels inhabit every public building and vampires and werewolves walk the streets with human beings in well-regulated truce. Now I remember why I picked up this book, because it mentions angels and vampires in the same sentence. I think I read somewhere that this is Sherlock fanfic originally, maybe? It's gonna be either one of these two, I haven't decided, but I guess I'm reading fantasy in April, that's for sure. And now for all of the other books that I will probably read. First of all, let's talk about the Buzzwordathon challenges in March. I haven't done that great with them. Maybe by the time it's actually April, I will have completed at least one of them. So far it's not looking good. I started to read Launch Something, which was my choice in my previous TBR. I have decided to DNF that one, which means that I don't think I have fulfilled the challenge yet, unfortunately. Even though I did give it a good attempt, I read about 40% of the book. I don't know if I should count that or not, but just in case, I'm thinking that I will go for another book with Thing in its title. I might go for an audiobook, and these are the two options I'm considering for that, or I might go for the second option I had in my previous TBR, which is Nothing Burns As Bright As You by Ashley Woodfolk. This is a YA story told in verse. It's about queer love, grief, and the complexity of female friendship. Maybe it could be a quick read at least. Like, I'm working through my physical TBR. Maybe I should just pick this one up and see what it's about. I feel like I've already talked about my March TBR, but basically my March TBR is rolling over into April. And on the same topic, the prompt for the cover challenge was to read a book with books on the cover. I had picked to read Kane's Jawbone, but I do want to make a video project out of that one, and it just isn't the right time for me to read it right now, maybe this summer. So like I have it in the back of my mind now, but I don't want to rush it. So I pulled out a couple of other books that I think might be nice reads and yeah, get me through this challenge. The options I have are Bookshops and Bone Dust and Book Lovers. My reading has been so high and low lately. I feel like I really need some like steady, stable 4-star reads. And these are both contenders for that. Either some cozy fantasy or a romance. Once again, not gonna decide now, but I'm picking between these two. My final mention and rollover from March. It seems like I did terribly in March. I didn't. I read plenty, but once again I didn't necessarily read what I was supposed to read, but as long as I read, I'm happy. Wuthering Heights, Emily Bronte. I need to read this for a book club. I am actually very excited about it. I got excited about it in my last video where I started to read up on it. It's gonna be interesting reading a classic. It's been a while since I read a classic, so I'm a tad bit scared about that. But other than that, I think this might be a good one. And then 2 books I have from the library. I really picked them up for no reason at all, and now I have them, and now I feel like I need to read them. So hopefully I can read them at some point in April. First we have Sunburn by Chloe Michelle Howarth, or however you say that. And it's a story that takes place in the early 1980s in an Irish village, and we are following 15-year-old Lucy. She's got fierce friendships, and the conventional path of marriage and motherhood doesn't appeal to her at all. I believe this is once again about queer love. There's a spark between her and her school friend Susanna that escalates into an all-consuming infatuation. Intense and all-consuming, like the first love it describes. I've just seen this one getting great reviews. I haven't seen it in many places, but the places I have seen it, people rave about it, and it's got a really high average rating on Goodreads. I feel like this can be a solid and unexpected read, so I'm glad I have it. I just need to make sure I'm able to prioritize it and get to it. The second book I very randomly picked up is The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. This is one I have seen around before. I think this is cozy fantasy. I don't feel like I'm getting much from the description either in this one. But yeah, I started to realize that, oh, my library might have many of those very popular fantasy, romantasy, romance sort of books. And since I'm trying to not spend money on those myself, I'm gonna make attempts to pick them up from my library instead. Like, I might pick up Quicksilver from my library, because I hate that cover, it's so ugly, but I do want to read it. A third book I'm gonna mention that is kind of a rollover from March. I didn't expect to read this one in March, but I did mention it in my March TBR and also all of my other TBRs. But it's Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins, the 3rd book in the Hunger Games series. I have finally started my reread. I'm currently on Catching Fire. I'm having the best of times. I don't think I will get to this one before the end of March, which is why I'm putting it in my April TBR. And with that in mind, I should probably put Sunrise on the Reaping on my April TBR as well. Today is actually the release day of that book, and I went to 2 bookstores and it was out in both of them. So well done, Collins. I'll make sure to find it soon enough. I want to buy it in a store physically. I don't want to order it online. I might have to, we're gonna see. Suddenly I feel like I have plenty to read in April. That wasn't the idea. My thought for April was like, oh, I need to read 1 book and then I can randomize everything and do a bunch of fun vlogs and whatever. Doesn't seem that way, does it? Basically, we got either one of these two, either one of these two, and that makes it, if we put it in the stack, this big. That's quite a big stack actually. Hold up. 2, 4, 6, 7 books. Plus Sunrise on Reaping. How does this happen to me? I really thought I would have like 1 or 2 books on this month's TBR. But most of these are rollovers, I feel like. And then we have the library books that I picked up for no reason at all. Once again, a very solid and interesting mix of books. Let me know what you are reading in April. I would love to chat about it. And let me know if you have read any of the books that I talked about today. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please take care and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye!